the artificial intelligence race is on. Join us as we sit down with innovators, industry leaders, and brilliant minds who are shaping the future of AI. In each episode, we'll cut through the hype to bring you real conversations about artificial intelligence's impact on our daily lives. Is this the biggest technological shift since the internet, or just another step in our digital evolution? So, let's discover together.
My guest in this episode today is Doug Neal. Doug is somebody I know for at least, 10 plus years.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we see each other in all the events.
Yep.
Doug is a co-founder and managing director of eLab venture in Ann Arbor. It's a boutique venture capital firm, and now I see that you specialize or focusing more on AI, given your research. Have 12 plus year experience in venture capital industry, serving in a variety of boards such Reflection AI, Retio, LastPoint, Lumatech, and just to name a few. So you've been around the block at least for a while.
Right. Yeah. I'm old. You can say it. I'm old. That's fine. Yeah.
You're not older than me, but it's okay. But I want to create the context for why we're doing this podcast, right? So understanding the current state of what we call the race for AI, the pros and cons, opportunity, challenges, from the investor point of view, right? But I want to define something. It's interesting because everybody say AI, it is already there, right? We know it's not. So what is artificial intelligence? So artificial, according to the dictionary, is made by human scales produced by humans, right? And intelligence is the capacity specifically of particular person or animal or living organism to learn, reasoning, understanding, and similarly form a mental activity relating to attribute and grasping truth, relationship, meaning, and so forth, right? Do we really have artificial intelligence?
That's a great question. And how long do we have for this podcast? Because we spend the next 2 hours just on that topic. I guess the way we talk about it, we are in an age now where what I think is widely accepted as narrow artificial intelligence is becoming quite productive and quite useful, right? Where a model is trained to do something very specifically using lots of data sets and can do that task as good or better than a human, right? And the big question I think a lot of us are looking at is, are we at the point of artificial general intelligence, right? And some people believe we crossed it already, and some believe we're about to cross it in the coming months or maybe by the end of the year. And I'm actually, I'm kind of on the fence there. I think we're very close. We're very close to artificial general intelligence. At least many of the benchmarks are being saturated. All the tests that people set out several years ago to know when we got there are actually being met. So we're definitely very close.
Okay, I appreciate it. Because like you said, there's a various point of view about that, right? I mean, are we really already created this independent entity called artificial intelligence? You know, one of the things that separate humans from everything else is free will, right? So it's like by artificial intelligence, by virtue of the definition, it's designed and programmed by humans.
Right.
So the question, what are the upsides and the limitation on the other side? Because, we unconsciously putting stops to it, right? Because we want to control it.
Right. Well, and I'm speaking mostly of the, the tests and the benchmarks, around, consciousness and things like that. I'm not even going to go there, right?
Right.
But there's been tests developed in the last few years. I think the most popular one I follow is the ARC AGI test that was put together, I think, 2017, around that time frame by some researchers to gauge when these technologies actually cross the barrier into AGI, right?
Okay.
And I think it's an interesting data point. Humans score, I think, about 85% on this test. That's what a human can do. And September last year, O1 by OpenAI scored in the 30%, and then O3 hit 87%. So surpassing humans on broadly across the test.
Right.
So it's quite fascinating how it's changing.
But it's also different when you apply it to processing data or accessing data or processing power versus actually the decision-making process from the data,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because humans, as we were born and raised and grow, a lot of unexpected things shape who we are.
Mhm.
AI is programmed in a certain intentionality. So, from processing power perspective, I agree with you. The question then which is our next question,
Mhm.
is AI, the AI race, is a revolution or evolution of technology landscape?
It's a great question. I look at it much more of a revolution than evolution. And I go back and forth on this a little bit, and we study, and you and I have had the experience of seeing many technology waves happen, right? Whether it was, personal computers and
Right.
internet and things like that. And each of these waves had a very well-known cyclical pattern. And I think a lot of those were evolutions over previous things, right? What we're seeing now and what's I think is going to be happening is quite different in terms of the amount of job disruption, right? The amount of automation in almost every sector, the rate of adoption of the technology is far beyond anything we've ever seen. So I always think of evolution as more incremental as opposed to revolutionary, which is much more disruptive. And it feels like it's the latter.
No, I understand the disruption. The question, the last post
Sure.
that you wrote that I just read this morning on Cup of Coffee, saying that the World Economic Forum says it's going to be 85 million jobs going to be lost by the end of the year, but at the same time, it's going to be 97 million jobs get created.
Right.
So
Right.
as a equilibrium work in every technology milestone that we went through, if it's the internet,
Right.
after the internet revolution, it was the e-commerce and
Yep.
and the website, and we went from website to apps, and
Yep.
somehow humanity adapted to it, and it's become the equilibrium.
That's
We
right.
lost a lot of jobs, but we created a lot of jobs.
That's right. And that's the dilemma. I think people fall into one or two camps in this topic, right? One is that AI is going to be a complete job removal engine. It's going to change our whole society. People will be out of work. And the other is, like you were saying, is there's always been new technology have always enabled new opportunities. And I think I put in that blog post a reference to Jevon's paradox, right? Which is, if people don't know, William Stanley Jevon, back in 1865, I believe, observed that new efficiencies in steam engines did not reduce the rate of coal consumption. Actually, it increased. And the point being, as things become less expensive and more efficient, we use them more. And the thought being, and to this point, to your point, that as we go forward, instead of maybe eliminating software programmers, we're going to be creating many more roles for programmers that can do many more things than they ever did before, as opposed to just getting rid of them.
Right. So, the CEO of Microsoft came with a kind of very bold statement 3 weeks ago, when he said that the AI is going to kill the SaaS model. And for us as an investor, SaaS model was the holy grail of investing.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So, and I was listening to a couple of podcasts of people, technology expert talking about it, so as an investor, again, I'm putting in the context of investors.
Right.
There's any legitimate concern that we need to put in front of us when we're looking at companies giving the evolution or the revolution, as you stated, for AI, that we may have to develop a new model of thinking?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And something as investors, we're struggling with on a daily basis as well. I think the reality, there's a lot of hype around the end of SaaS as a distinctive investment category. I'm not sure it's that draconian and it's going to end that fast, but there are significant warning signs. There are examples, because AI can generate code now so well, that large enterprises with their own development teams are able to build on their own enterprise-grade applications without paying Salesforce.com or now Agentforce
Right.
for the use of their technology. And so what we thought was a safe subscription-based business model to deliver turnkey enterprise applications is now somewhat at risk from, grow at your own kind of competitive aspect of enterprise.
Right. And even in the last, we invested in a couple AI companies 5 years ago before the gold rush.
Mm-hmm.
It was on the cusp of the gold rush, right?
Yep.
But when you're looking at even in the last 3 years alone, the evolution of AI from OpenAI come to market and now
Right.
DeepSeek. You went from, some app to a platform to vertical AI, now agentic AI, and it's kind of like what's coming next?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing. But so the question, I think you answered slightly before. For an investor, are we too early, too late, or just in time?
Great. Well, I don't think we're too late. I think there's tremendous opportunity for investing. And there's certain things that I think are being wildly disrupted and things to be careful of. Certainly those who invested in the large language models. I'm not, given the cost that's being driven down so fast, there's going to be a lot of destruction there in equity value, I think, in the development of the tools, the core tools. But those tools enabling things to happen now, I think there's tremendous opportunities in that. I don't think it's too late, especially in the agentic space. I think that is an area we're paying a lot of attention to as well.
So give people a couple sentences about the agentic AI, because people ask me, and it's come from ignorance, not intentional, but just don't understand what
Sure.
agentic AI means.
Yeah, and I don't think. I think agentic AI is much simpler than people realize. Agentic AI is really the combination of generative AI, where we've all used ChatGPT and we've interacted with an LLM for information, and combining that with a tool or a set of tools. So you get the LLM to actually perform operations or tasks, whether that's updating data, retrieving data, performing operations on the computer or digitally. And eventually that'll translate to robotics as well. But that's where agents are. So they actually can make decisions and actually do things as opposed to just respond to a query from you or I.
Right, which has led me, it's perfect segue to the next. So we get pitched at least 4 times a week with company claiming we are an AI company.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned the distinction, and I say, are you an AI company or you are a tech company utilizing AI?
Exactly.
Which is 2 different things.
That's right. Absolutely right.
Right. So I said to a lot of founders, don't say you're an AI company. It's misleading, because you actually use AI as a utility on your tech stack or whatever it is you're building. Yep. But you're not, OpenAI is an AI company. Copilot is an AI company, but you're not an AI company. You're not developing AI. You're utilizing AI.
That's right.
Right.
And that's similar to how we at eLab think about the world. We bifurcate investment opportunities into platform new AI implementations, right? Voxel 51 is a company we invested in. They have a new model and a tool to train, to help developers and data scientists train their models, as opposed to everybody else, which are applied AI companies, right? Where they're using AI in a way, hopefully to create a distinction from their competitors.
Right.
And in that case, if you're not using AI as a software company today, you're behind, first of all, right? So everybody's going to have that.
Right.
So the distinguishing characteristic for us in that second bucket is, sometimes, for example, are they using AI trained on unique data sets they have access to, no one else has access to?
Yeah.
That then is an application of AI that has a moat around it somewhat, right? Because other people can't get to that data. And so we look for those types of things, for example.
So which is kind of leading to another question or thought, disruptive thoughts that, most startup companies building the company with conscious or unconscious intention in some point they can exit.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
With
AI, at least for me, I found it a little bit challenging from the perspective that the company say, "We'll develop this model and the algorithm, whatever it is we're developing, and Microsoft's going to buy us or Google is going to buy us." But the rate of development that those big tech companies doing in-house right now, is this a really statement that can hold through? Google willing to pay so much money for something when they have just a powerhouse development in-house right now?
Right. No, you're right. This is our fundamental business model, right? Is that we make these investments expecting at some point they're going to exit for 10 times our investment in price, right? And acquisition versus IPO is the standard model. I wish I knew the answer to this. I mean, you have these behemoth technology companies with all the money in the world and all the engineering talent in the world. Why can't they just build everything, right? But in reality, as you know, small companies move faster than big companies. So if you can build some market dominance in certain verticals, that should be valuable to the top line of some of these companies.
Because I heard from a colleague of mine, a friend in MIT. He's an Israeli professor from the Technion that's teaching MIT right now, and he said that the most desired development talent right now is AI-driven data scientist. And he said there's no way in the world that small startup company be able to retain their talent because the big guys is going heavy at those as a talent right now.
Yeah.
There was a student from, I don't know if you heard, 2 weeks ago, it was in the Stanford alumni newsletter. There's a student, a Chinese kid that just graduated from computer science something, but he's a whiz kid with AI. He just graduated a couple of weeks after graduation. Google offered him the highest paid student ever.
Wow.
For Google, like $500,000 a year, first year salary, something like that.
Yeah, it's insane.
So smaller company will have a hard time develop in-house AI because the talent is not there, and if the talent is there, you want to question yourself, how come they're available, right?
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing.
There's some truth to that, and you're right. The talent war is raging as it has been for the last decade. But we do see that there are people who want to be part of something smaller, something innovative, something they're passionate about, and they'll take equity over cash to achieve it. And given now in a post-COVID world, virtual companies are the norm. They're attracting talent from all over. Most of our companies are virtual that we invest in, right? Their employees, There'll be some in Michigan, there'll be some, throughout the country, right? Just finding the best talent to work on what they want to do.
And I had a couple of episodes ago, I had Andrew Basile from Young Basile. I mean, they are a very large tech IP firm. They have a lot of impressive client lists like Zoom, Google, and so forth.
Yeah.
And Andrew keep saying very clearly, it is tougher, if not almost impossible, to patent any AI-driven, given that there's so much in the public domain.
Yeah.
So as an investor, we have a challenge, right? We love SaaS, we love companies that have IP, and now it's all of it in a chopping block is like, really, how much weight you should put into it.
Well, that's true, right? And I mean, patent portfolio have always had some value in these companies, right? And especially in the more hardware AI, where those two integrate, there's still a lot of opportunity there. But yeah, in the pure AI implementation software models, you need to find other technology moats, whether it's, again, the data set or maybe the team's unique insights into a market problem that others don't see readily, that might give them the head start to build some moat around them.
Right. So we know that certain industries are going to adopt AI faster than others, right? And there's certain, and we didn't even talk about it. That's going to be a whole episode in itself to talk about what the regulator is going to do. And they are sitting and over there bumping against the wall what to do. We already know they put the brakes on like medical decisions, things like that. So the regulator will have to put some something in place, right? So there's going to be industry going to adopt faster and some going to adopt slower. So if I'm an investor and I'm saying, okay, this revolution, as you declare it, I mean, I'm still in between revolution and evolution.
Sure.
So which industry we should focus on? That we know the adoption is going to be there, the value is going to be there, the ability for those industry to absorb and pay for this is going to be there.
Yeah. So I think you're right. I think it's unclear if the regulatory oversight groups are going to be able to keep up with what's happening. But I think, as you said, whether it's in life science or legal, for example, there's restrictions on what you can do and what you can use AI for. I think more non-regulated environments in the enterprise are much better bets, personally.
Right.
We're seeing interesting opportunities there, and in the entertainment space, right? That there could be much faster adoption without waiting for burdens or regulatory approvals.
Right. And then we also see, to a degree, if you remember when the internet, when the World Wide Web at the time was starting, somebody created the TCP/IP protocol, right, the IP address.
That's right.
The moment the IP address got created, the internet was boom.
Yeah.
Now is the superhighway real estate, and some claim I may adopt myself to this category of people that somebody or someone or some entity will come up with that protocol for AI. That in that moment, everything going to fall in place. Okay, now we have some protocol that we all need to work around,
Yeah.
right? The same thing happened with blockchain. When blockchain came to the market, if you remember,
Yep.
it's going to change the world. Now it's a whole different thing. No more databases. Now it's all decentralizing. But it didn't go that way. And Ethereum came and kind of created the standard, so to speak, and everybody kind of went around it. What's your thought about that?
That's a great question. I'm not convinced that a standard is going to emerge necessarily. Let me take it back. The reason I'm hesitating is I think some interesting things are happening in agent AI. So we saw, a month back or so, OpenAI release Copilot, right, which is now going beyond APIs for AI. It's just using a computer keyboard and mouse like we do. So the entire human digital interface is open to these AI technologies, which would mean anything that humans could get access to, these technology AI agents can get access to, which might drive down the argument or the path that we don't need a standard because it can do whatever we do. But I think as we go forward, there's been a lot of articles recently about I think Y Combinator talked about it recently, called a B to A market, right? Business to agents infrastructure. I could see some standardization happening there. So, for example, when you and I go on Amazon and we look at a product we want to buy, we see a certain layout. We see some pictures and how it can be used and people using it and some reviews, but there's only so much a human can really take in to make a decision, right? AI agents don't have that problem. And so if we give our AI agents a task, go find me a blender, right? It needs a lot more data than what that would provide. Right. Perhaps there's a standard interface that'll develop there to make things more efficient, but it's going to move so fast.
But I'll take it to a different direction.
Sure.
When I'm talking about standard, I just want to make sure that I'm maybe putting something behind it. Like as humans, you said, they can do what we can do as humans, so we don't need a standard, right?
Right.
But even humans live in a certain standardized society, right? Like there's laws, right? You can't drive more than 75 miles an hour on the highway.
Right.
You can't cross a red light. I mean, so when I talk about standard, I'm talking about
more rules. You're saying
rules, standard rules, regulations, call them stops, whatever you want. Because we know that the biggest issue with AI right now is the false positive, right? It's like you get information back from AI, you don't know it's real, it's not real, it's credible, where it's from. I mean, some do, some don't. So it's like, are we going to have a standard that actually require to tell you is this AI generator versus Library of Congress generator, or how do I know that what I'm getting is actually vetted?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, right? Because unfortunately, I think humans deal with this already, right? So many people get the news, they think it's news, and it's really not news, right? So the lack of truth out there is rampant for human consumption. So no doubt that the AI agents are also suffering from the same type of problem. Yet, because of some of the hallucinations, they kind of propagate that a little bit more. There is some work on standardization for, especially in image creation, to encode that this is an AI generated image, right? But it's not. I'm not sure that's going to be. It's not going to be the only solution, right?
No, but what scares me is not the images or know that this image is generated by AI or not. What scares me is that when you're using AI in autonomous driving, or you're using AI for aviation, if you're using AI for medical, if you're using AI in places that there's a lot at stake, how worried should be that the AI is going to make decision if the car going to stop now or going to cross the intersection and all that.
Yeah. I mean, we can be worried or we can be excited, frankly. I mean, I had an own experience last fall. A person in my family, we were at the hospital and they had an undiagnosed illness. And as you know, doctors and professionals, they specialize in certain things.
Right.
And so they all came in with their own lens on the world to solve the problem, and no one could identify it. And I fed the symptoms just off the data chart into an AI that was designed for medical diagnostics. And it came up with it could be one of these two things. And I told that to the doctors, and each doctor said, that can't be that, it can't be that. Another week later, it was that. And so the point being that it actually, if it's given oversight by humans, it can actually find things, solutions to problems that most humans can't, because it's not tied to a box of its education, perhaps from the university or whatever.
Right, which you point to the things that if a doctor to diagnose the situation can take a month of
Right.
research. AI can do it in 3 minutes.
Right.
So it can present the doctor with the two options that's maybe the cause,
Right.
which you can do in 2 minutes, and the doctor then will have to kind of look at it and kind of validate it as true instead of spending a month and the patient die in the meantime.
Right. So human in the loop today, that's how we do it, right? The human's in the loop today. And so I guess the question is, at what point do we feel comfortable with the human not being in the loop?
Okay.
Right. And I think that'll happen over time, right?
It will. I think it's exciting, but I don't think society is ready for it, right?
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
So, okay, so we go back to, we see a lot of AI in mobility, medical, retail, and other sectors. When you guys get a new AI opportunity, what's some of the due diligence practices that you're recommending the investor to consider when they're looking at a company presenting some form of AI?
Yep. So, well, if it again depends which category it falls into. Is it a platform, a tool that is fundamental to the future of AI in a certain market, or is it applied AI, right? And frankly, in either case, a lot of our diligence comes down to if we believe that the market is big enough and they have a unique approach, whether it's a unique data set or insights, is we spend a lot of our time doing market diligence, going out there and finding. They say, okay, car dealers are their customers, right? Well, we're going to go find some car dealers and introduce the concept to ourselves to validate with the market. And that's always been the case with diligence with investments anyway.
Right.
It's really more, in my experience, the failure of product market fit is the demise of the company than the ability for them to actually bring the technology to market they said they were going to do, right?
Right. We knew investing in tech companies over the years that it's always the case that you have a tech founder with not so much business background, or you have a business guy that don't have much tech background, right? So it's like you're looking for. With AI, it's becoming even more critical, right? People come to you and pitch you. The question, will you prefer the business guy that understand how to take it to market, or you will look at the med scientists that think that they got the best thing than OpenAI, but don't have the business background? I mean, like, how is critical in the AI space to have the balance?
That's a great question. I think our ideal kind of persona for a founder that for what we invest in, because we've been doing our first AI investment was 2015, right? So we've been doing this for 10 years now.
Right.
Is we don't want the mad scientist that is tone deaf to any customer feedback, and we actually don't want somebody who has no technical chops at all. We typically want someone who kind of leans technical, perhaps purely technical, but is certainly then customer facing. Because if we can't get the technical founder out to talk to customers, there's no efficiency in the feedback loop for them to innovate and get the product market fit. So that's kind of our ideal persona. Is we prefer more technical teams that are willing to engage customers. So.
Right. It's like there's a saying that the med scientist or the inventor will sacrifice the company for the sake of the product, and the entrepreneur going to sacrifice the product for the sake of the company.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like kind of the balance. But so it's the race is moving faster than any other evolution or revolution in technology we've seen before. We're crazy. Every day you open and you look at the boom. It's like DeepSeek is a classic example. Huge. It's like from back door it shows up and everybody says better than this, and who knows what's the next thing coming at in left field. It seems like, interestingly enough, I read yesterday, there's more. United States as a country is a little bit behind, and I think DeepSeek was a wake-up call for the United States. There's a lot more. Mistral, for example, it's a European company, right? So there's a lot more attention and investment in AI in Europe right now than in the U.S.
Yeah, although, I mean, I guess if Stargate comes to fruition, that's a $500 billion investment. Right. But I think I agree 100% with your point that DeepSeek is a wake-up call. I don't think the analogy that it's the Sputnik moment for AI is really a right analogy, because the barriers between countries are really dissolved a lot from a talent and technology flow, frankly. But the fact that DeepSeek was forced to innovate because it had constraints, right? I think is a wake-up call, right? That we can't, our engineering can't be comfortable with having unlimited compute power, right? In fact, there was in that blog I put out today, there's an article about a Stanford research team that launched S1, and they trained a model. They claimed on, was it, $50 or $500? I mean, just insanely efficient, right? Building on what OpenAI and others have done, right?
Right.
So it's I do agree with your point.
So there's a couple things we know from the expert, at least for the MIT expert I talked to, that AI really going to get to the next level when the supercomputer or the quantum computer is going to become like a more mainstream, because they still require a lot of computing power, right? I mean, it's like there's limitation at what the current computer power can do, especially if you're running an AI platform for different things, right? So with that being said, I think that DeepSeek, some people say that it took it from it's a race between startup to race between tech giants, and now it's a race between countries. So now countries, it's going to be what we said, the race for AI dominance. So it's like every country wanted to be the dominant power in AI, right? It's kind of like what do we need to do in the U.S. All the way down from the investor level, all the way down to the state level, to the country level, to stay out of the game.
So that's a great question, and there's people with a lot, better pay grade than I have to answer that question. I'll give you my perspective. I think the old containment model world won't work for AI. I don't think the idea of regulatory restrictions will stop AI from growing. And we're seeing now with open source, I think the cost is going to be driven to zero. Open source is going to rule the day. And if you have those two things together, then everybody from, the student in the dorm at the university to the person at the Los Alamos research lab will have access to the same AI compute power. Now in that world, without containment, I think to me, the question should be what do we do about that? How do we prepare for that as a society? How do we protect ourselves and our family members from really good spam and security threats and things like that? I just don't think there is a containment model that'll work. And I think as costs get to zero, the ability for nations to throw unlimited dollars after it become less relevant. And so I don't know the answer to this, and it keeps me up at night, frankly.
No, I'm with you. That's why I invited you here, because we have the same thing. I mean, I probably, like I said, on an average week, we get 5 to 6, 7 AI company pitching. And the outset, when you actually listen to the pitch, it sounds exciting and great. And then you go and ask yourself the question, okay, is this as an app? Is this a utility? Is this as a, part of the bigger picture? And then at the end of the day, that the model that we all looking from is the spirit of Detroit, right? So it's the driver, the car, and the race, right? We trademark it, by the way. Okay. Instead of the horse, so we're betting on a driver, right? Yep. So the question we ask ourselves at the end of the day, from all those 6 companies we're reviewing, which one of those founders we think can drive?
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, that's all it counts. Can you take it to the market? Yep. Or it's just going to be a novel thing that's go to the tech graveyard.
Absolutely. That's, for us, one of the biggest factors in making a decision is the founding team, right? At a seed stage or even pre-seed, you don't have a lot of other data to go on, right? Then your interaction with the founder, it means so much.
And you guys invest in pre-seed, seed level, right?
That's right. Yep.
Right. The same as us, right?
Yep. Yep.
So here's the thing, and maybe put you on the spot and on the camera, but
sure.
I think there's an opportunity between Birmingham Angel, CSI Venture, eLab, and other small firm in Michigan that kind of looking at AI as the next pile of opportunities to be more intimately sharing those deals. Because if you invested in an AI company, you write them a check for $250,000 because you did your diligence, I'll feel comfortable to write the check too, instead of looking for another company. So we can actually support each other by making the company stronger, that they get the money fast, and because in AI, time to market is even more critical than anything else.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, we'd love to partner with you guys on a deal for sure.
Yeah. All right, good. So, and it's not just only us. I mean, I think the Michigan angel community, we're participating in some. My intention was the next call to kind of gear them to how about if as a community, for the rest of this year, we're focusing on more AI-driven company because there are a lot of us interested in that, and we can close deals together much faster.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that's the future for sure.
right.
Absolutely.
So, so it's an interesting, a lot of the investors that part of our group in Birmingham Angels is now almost 100 members. They all, from conversation we have in the last couple of months, I learned a couple of things. One, they are relating to AI as this magical thing that happened without understanding what's under the hood. So that's one. Two, it's a buzz thing. It's like that's the buzz of the week. AI, everything is AI. And then when the company presented, they say we are an AI company. They're assuming that they're developing AI, and then they understand. And I keep saying to them when we do the due diligence, and no, they're utilizing AI. They don't develop AI. It's like, oh, what's the difference? So part of this podcast is for the investor to actually listen and say, okay, here's what you need to know. In many ways. So.
And one of the first questions we ask entrepreneurs when they're pitching us, when they're pitching and they claim they're AI, is we ask them, okay, well, what AI platform are you built upon? Which tool do you use to make this work?
And you do in-house engineering.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And we assume you did something beyond that. But if you're using ChatGPT or Anthropic or something, just tell us. And then now we understand what you do. You didn't build that. You leverage that. Okay, great. So whatever you're building on top of that must have delta value that we're going to invest because of that. Right?
So now there's the short-term gain in AI and there's a long-term gain in AI, right? So you either invest in technology that you'll see the return 5-6 years down the road, or you invest in technologies that you can see a shorter return. For example, if you're a tech company developing AI utility that you can sell to CRM systems or something else, it's maybe a short return.
Right.
It's not going to be 100x, but it could be a return. We got pitched last week with a company develop utility for CRM systems. Great. It's a great market. A lot of CRM system needs that. If they can fast go to the market, get disinclinedly selling this utility, blah, blah, stuff, it's a short-term gain, but it's probably going to die in some point, right? Because those companies will basically, like Salesforce saying recently, they will have to redo the platform with inside AI. It's not just putting AI on top of it.
Right.
But
I think you're right. I think in order for our business models to survive, I think shorter time to liquidity is going to be the name of the game in the future. Not just you have some deals that are 4 years and some that are 10 years, right? I think everything has to get short. Because the pace of disruption, right? If your company's not acquired, let's say now in 5 years instead of 8 years, it's going to be disrupted, right? By some other new AI tech.
You're very generous. I actually think that most of those companies that are not going to be acquired for the first 3 years are probably going to be history at some point.
It's very possible. Yeah. But it's definitely faster than it was ever before.
Well, there's no question about it. So, so what you're saying for the value of the people listening is that the part of the AI practice is understanding when they claim they're doing some AI, what kind of platform, what are they building it on top of? So we understand, are they doing in-house engineering? Are they building their own tool, or are they utilizing somebody else's tool with put their label on it? And so the last question maybe to ask you is like, this anything we didn't ask, or I should ask, that we missed in this conversation, because I know you can do hours and hours of conversation.
Well, no, I mean, we covered a lot of good stuff, Doran. So this has been great. I guess if we just visit some of the themes with the cost of compute getting down to zero, from an investor standpoint, you should be. It always has been the case, right? Is at least for us. We rarely invest in somebody to get to a MVP prototype of their software solution, right? That should even be more true now, because AI can get us there like that. So the cost of the expense forecast of any company should be much more efficient than ever before for making our investment decisions, right? So they should be moving much faster and getting much faster to product market fit and validation. Beyond that, no, I think we covered a lot of good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate it. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do it.
That was great.
I follow your blog pretty, as an authority for me to read every week.
Cool.
We'll reposting it in our, social media channels. And I know you're busy with a million things, but I will be glad if we can at least catch up monthly or bi-monthly or whatever it is, keep doing this conversation and maybe invite other people to join the conversation.
Sure. I'm sure in a month from now, everything's going to be changed.
Yeah, I know. It's like, we're going to talk about something else than AI.
Right, exactly. I'll just send my AI bot to do it for me. So
Right.
yeah.
It's funny how people outside of what we do for a living, because we get to see things that people don't even know it's coming, right? So it's like I come and tell my wife sometimes something, these things, for her, it's like 10 years over there. And I'm saying, no, it's around the corner.
Exactly. No, it's already here.
Thank you for taking time. I know you have another meeting to attend to. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Are you interested in becoming a member and joining our group? Please contact Jerron York by phone 248-981-6688 or visit our members' website by using the following QR code. We are looking forward to talking to you soon.